Welcome to Enots Engineering, I'm Alan. In today's video I'm looking at my bench vise. I've been having problems over the last few years that the vise has not been gripping correctly. It grips on one end of the jaws more than the other, so I thought it's about time I took it to bits, had a look and see if I can fix it. So let's go to the workshop, see how I did it. This is my bench vise. This one has 5-inch jaws. You can see the top's got lots of marks on it. The main problem is when I close the jaws, it grips at this end, and this end I've got a gap, and that gap is more than 24 thou. So there have been times I've tightened it up, start to cut on this side and it's loose, but I can't tighten it any further. So what I want to do is find out why it's gone like that, take the jaws off and machine the top of the jaws level and check that they're parallel, and then check that the vise is parallel. This vise is on a swivel, and I find that useful because if you have a long, say, piece of pipe and you want to cut some off, and the pipe you can't get in the vise because the width of the workshop is not wide enough, I can swivel this round and then put the pipe out the door so I can have a 10-foot piece held in the vise, which I couldn't do in the workshop. That's why I had the swivel vise, and it's also useful for other things. As I take the jaws off, just unwind it. So I'll undo the screws. Tighten the vise back up. That's about the closest I can get to tightening the vise up. There's a bit of play in that, which is what you'd expect. I want to check this gap here. Is it the jaws that are causing the problem, or the gap in the vise? Okay, so what I've done now is put a piece of aluminium in the drawers. I'll measure this side just a little in from the edge, zero it, and measure this side, that's saying 19.5 thou, say 20 thou, and I think with the slip gauge it's 24 thou. So even without the jaws in, I've got a 20 thou misalignment there. So I'll take the vise off and have a look at the inside. Lift this up, turn it over, here's a plate, I think that holds a nut, so if I unscrew this, even that's loose. This end of the vise, I'm taking the cotter pin out. Okay, I've taken the cotter pin off, and this bush has slid down, so now I should be able to remove the assembly. It's just tight at the very end where the thread's not used. That's that out. And there's the bush that was on the end with the cotter pin through. And there's a washer, like a thrust washer. At the bottom there's a cast piece across there, so I can't pull that out without removing the nut. And this should be the nut. That's a tight fit. Well, there's a nut for the vice. The jaw should now be able to come out. If I pull this forward, it should come straight out. There we go. So I've got the vice apart. The next job is to give everything a clean. I've given it a quick clean. Got most of the grease off it, so we've got the part that fits on the bench with the one jaw. This is the moving jaw, the main screw and the nut. So what I want to do first is check that the jaw face here is square to the body. This is the setup. This is the best I can clamp this vice part. I've got two small parallel strips underneath just to locate off the bottom where it's been machined. I'm clamping on the top so it's holding it down on the parallel strips on each end. And I've got the jaw where I want to machine, so it's 0 this end and 20 thou out this end. So I'm taking 20 thou off this side. The other problem I've got, the jaw is not square. It's 10 thou, 15 thou out of square. So I don't know how they machine that square, whether they just machine this, machine that, and then this vice is running on the bottom. I don't know. So if I go just down past the holes, when I travel along, you can see it's the milling is all over the place. That's 5 thou, 10 thou, 15. That's the other hole, and we just come up to nearly 20 at the end there. So I'm going to machine it at that, see if I can get a better finish on this because it's all over the place, and then I'll look at the bottom bit. I don't really want to take any off the bottom here because that's the right height for the jaw. I'll fitted a 1/2 inch end mill in there, see how that goes. Just see what the jaw looks like on that. Now while I'm doing this, I'll just true the top of the vice up because that's out as well. I've just fitted the jaw on and gone across the top of the jaw with a milling cutter, but it's tough material. Just levelled it up a bit and that looks a bit better. I'll take that one out and reassemble the vice and see whether the jaws are any better. I've cleaned and greased the thread. Now I'm just pushing on the washer and the bush that has a split pin. Now I've slid the thrush washer and bush on that the split pin goes through, but you need to assemble this before you put the split pin in. So on this end, so you have to take the nut out, feed the vice through, then put the nut back in because this end's blanked off. So now I can put the nut back in. Then feed the thread into the nut. Now I can put the cotter pin in on this end. Put the pin in, split pin, and I want to just flatten the head, it won't turn around the spindle. And that turns round okay. I'll put this back on the base. I'm using some foam just to hold. That foam just stops them falling through when I put the top back on. Lift this up, put it back on, and put the nuts on the top. I'm just putting the jaw back in. Gap at this end, but I can also see a gap at this end. You can see this jaw's gone down quite a bit. That's 12th thou, that won't fit in. 7th thou goes in and it stops about ½ inch in. But it also goes in this end as well, 7th thou. So it looks as if the jaws are were not only out of line but also bowed. So that's the best I can get that. At least now I should be able to hold something in this end without it becoming loose. That's that job done. You can see on the top the difference in the height. But that's the back jaw now that's out. I'll machine some off this jaw to get it level, but obviously I haven't done that jaw. I could machine some off, but these jaws are hardened, so I'll leave it at that. See, that must improve the grip. Oh well, that's it for today. Hope that was useful. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time on Enots Engineering.